Skills are the new currency. Forget about job titles, it's all about skills now. The world of work is changing. This shift actually started well before the pandemic with the increase of digitization and automation. The pandemic has only just sped it up. It used to be the norm and practice for organizations to look at their setup and organizational design through the lens of jobs. Jobs were the core of organizational design. These days, and going forward, it's all about skills that they need for their successful business delivery and organizational design. Things are becoming much more fluid now, and as a result of it, may appear complex. Skills are constantly changing and evolving. As per the World Economics Forum, skills on average get rusty and we need to upgrade them every 4 to 5 years. Some people think it's a lot less. I'm one of those people as well, but I think on average we have to be looking at enhancing and upgrading our skills every 1 to 2 years. Nearly half of college grads and university grads are unemployed for about 6 months after graduations. Jobs and the skills needed to do them are constantly changing and evolving. I also think that the whole narrative around jobs needs to change. It is quite common practice when you meet someone new. The first thing we tend to ask them is, what do you do? What is your job? What is your occupation? I personally think the questions going forward should be, what are your skills? What have you created? What can you do? We need to be on top of our skills on a regular basis. I personally think that every 6 to 12 months we should sit down and carefully examine what we know, what we've learned, what we need to upgrade, and what new we need to learn. There are many situations and factors and matters that we simply cannot change or influence, but there is one thing we can definitely change, and that is to invest in ourselves. We are in the driving seat. It is important to map our current skills and see and establish how they translate to other jobs, not just particular job titles and job families, how they actually could be relevant to any other jobs. In most jobs that we do, there are certain common skills that certainly overlap, and that's something we should bring to the table, especially when we are looking at switching careers or going from one field to another field. I would also encourage you to think deeper and research as to what kind of jobs will actually disappear in 5 to 10 years. I will actually create a separate video about which jobs may disappear in 5 to 10 years. I think it's a very interesting area that needs to be explored and shared further. The current data also suggests that there will be around 85 million jobs displaced over the next 5 years due to automation and digitization. On the other hand, the robot revolution could also create around 97 million new jobs. When it comes to automation, robotics or bots, think about repetitive work that we may be doing in our day-to-day jobs that simply could be automated and performed further by a bot. So, for example, any job where you have to do data entry, accounting, and administrative support where you have to generate manual letters will be replaced by bots. Automation and bots are simply going to release you to other activities that are more meaningful, and you will be able to spend more time on complex matters where you can genuinely feel you're adding value to your own learning, but also the business you're working in. Rather than think of automation and robotics as systems and tools that are going to take our jobs away. These days, organizations are claiming there is shortage of talent. Whilst that is true, clearly what organizations could and should do is focus on their existing internal workforce and upskill them where they can. The other day, I read something on LinkedIn where it was mentioned that these days organizations are either a tech company or tech enabled. And clearly this is true. As organizations and technologies are rapidly changing and evolving, there is quite a lot of clue as to what we should be thinking about and focusing on when it comes to skills that are needed to operate in our new technology world. In 2025, analytical skills, creativity, flexibility or agility are among the top skills needed, with data and artificial intelligence, content creation and cloud computing as the top emerging professions. In the Future Jobs Survey, core skills such as critical thinking, analysis and problem solving remain the top skills that we should be thinking about when it comes to upskilling ourselves or learning how to do them. Other skills that could be added would be around resilience, flexibility and agility, and how we simply manage ourselves when it comes to well-being and mental health. The core skill I'm working on in 2022 and beyond is definitely data. I really want to become data-driven. I'm spending quite a lot of time to understand how to become data-driven. What does data tell me? I would like to be in a position to use data to help me with storytelling. I'm very keen to become very independent when it comes to data analytics and simply how I can use data to help me in my roles. There is also a new line that's been emerging for a while, which states that data is the new oil. So therefore, we are all becoming surrounded with data more and more, and we must be able to understand it and use it to our benefit. If you are also keen to learn about data and develop your data skills, I suggest you start from this website, the Data Literacy Project website, where you can do a self-assessment as to what level you're at when it comes to data, and you can do many modules for free and paid. I would now like to mention my own examples when it comes to how I assessed and analysed my skills and used those skills to transition from law to HR in 2011, and now from an HR business partner role where I have worked in quite traditional operating models to HR consulting roles where I will be working on projects. So if I go back to 2011, when I was working as an employment law paralegal, I was already in two minds as to whether I wanted to become an employment lawyer or not. I met lots of HR professionals. I really fell in love with what they were doing and variety of work and flexibility, and I really wanted to transition into HR. Whilst I was exploring relevant HR courses, I really wanted to dig deep into my skills and what I already know and possess that is relevant to HR. The key skill or the key knowledge I had at the time and still have and maintain to make sure I'm up to date is employment law. I was absolutely up to date, not just from a knowledge perspective, but also from a practical perspective as to how you can actually apply it to day-to-day situations. Employment law knowledge and application of the same is very relevant and important in HR roles. Other skills I listed were my knowledge and understanding of policies and procedures. I was really up to date and had dealings with a couple of restructures and change management, and I was really up to date with best practices to how you can actually do that from an organizational point of view. I also had lots of interaction internally with internal customers and external customers, which clearly you have when you're working in HR roles. I also had knowledge of and experience of case management. I fully was up to date as to how you needed to take a case or an issue from start to finish, and all this really was relevant to HR roles. It did take me 9 months to transition into HR at the time, but I remember explicitly calling out these skills on my CV and in my job interviews as to how I found these skills relevant to HR roles at the time. Fast forward to 2021-22, where I already gained quite a lot of relevant HR experience and progressed in my HR career from an HR associate level to now a senior HR business partner level. I was really keen for my next role and my next 5 to 10 years to work in people or HR consulting. I researched quite a lot around major consultancies where I knew they had major people departments where they were providing relevant services to their clients. I looked at KPMG, PwC, Ernst & Young, Deloitte, etc. I also applied to work for Capgemini Invent. They are growing quite a lot in the UK. I was successfully shortlisted and I passed all 3 stages, and I was offered the role as well to work for them. However, I did have a change of heart. We couldn't agree on the salary package. At the same time, I managed to secure another better role where I will be working in-house for one organization, but in a people consultant role, which was much more appealing to me in the end. Very similar to the previous example, I really focused on my customers. Who are the people I'm working with and influencing? I know in consulting you have to work with many clients and customers externally. You are working on different projects and assignments, and there is a lot of delivery focus and customer influencing. I focused and listed all projects I was either a part of or I led on from start to finish, or I was simply a lead from an HR point of view, making sure it gets delivered. I also focused quite a lot on stakeholders and customers I was working with and partnering directly, because clearly that carries on even when you're a consultant. I focused on organizational design, strategic workforce planning, change management, restructuring, because that's what really consultants do in people consulting when it comes to working with external clients and customers and working on projects. Where and how to learn? We all learn differently. Sadly, schools don't really spend a lot of time helping us understand how we learn and what works for us best. If you're still not sure what kind of a learner you are, there are many websites you can go to assess your learning styles, and I'll attach a few links as well in my description box. If there are skills you would like to learn, I suggest you find those people who have those skills and spend a bit more time to understand as to how they develop them and how they upskill themselves on a regular basis as part of their continuous professional development. There is another learning model I would like to briefly mention called 70-20-10, and this is really broken down into how much time you spend on particular activities. So 70% is learning on the job, which is quite important and the best way to learn in my view. 20% is learning through others, such as mentoring, shadowing, or you acting up or taking up secondments to learn about other people's jobs. And 10% is actually classroom or online learning. I hope this video helps you and gives you some ideas as to how you can approach thinking about your skills, making sure they're future ready and you're always upskilling and investing in yourself. You can also book a call with me if you would like to discuss further. But that's it for this video and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.